Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. So, the colony drop. Have you ever thought about that? If in the future we get space colonies orbiting the Earth, and what if they kind of lose their orbit and get pulled in by the Earth's gravitational field and, like, just bombard a certain place? I mean, it could be done accidentally, but on purpose is even crazier, and that's actually what we're going to cover here. In UC Gundam, when colonies have been used as weapons and dropped on places. And there's also a Gundam outside of UC that does this as well. But before we get started, if you haven't, please subscribe and check the links in the description for ways you can support the channel, but also join the Discord, which is pretty awesome as well. But let's get started. All right, so when it comes to the colony drop, it's actually called Operation British, or the first one, and what I'm going to start with here, because if you watch Mobile Suit Gundam for the first time, at the very beginning, in the intro, it shows what is kind of here in this little wiki, in kind of a shot, not this exact one, but of what it looks like, one of the space colonies, the cylinders. I've had a video of it as well, about the colonies, but it dropping. Okay, and I mean, that's devastating. I mean, it's like, hearing about asteroids falling, hitting the Earth. I mean, this is insane stuff. I mean, because there's a lot of things that can happen after just a colony destroying a certain area, but it's like the aftermath in the environment. It could be, clouds of dust blocking the sun, could stretch around the globe. It's just crazy to see how much it happened in the UC timeline. Operation British was a Principality of Zeon military operation in the early stage of the One-Year War. It was intended to destroy the Earth Federation Forces headquarters at Jaburo by dropping a space colony onto it. Though the colony did not hit its intended target, it still resulted in massive casualties on Earth. So Jaburo, if you're not familiar with, is the Earth Federation base. It's like a military complex, but it's in South America, maybe specifically Brazil, underground. So people don't really know exactly where the little entrances and exits are, but it's an underground military base. This kind of keeps the Federation safe from anything that could happen. I guess, thinking, living on Earth, even this short time span we have of recorded history, we don't know the devastation that could happen long term, especially in the future with just asteroids hitting, solar flare outbursts or whatever, stuff that's kind of talked about by scientists and potentially through archaeology what could have happened in the past. So, in January UC 0079, at the start of the One-Year War, forces of the Principality of Zeon attempted to drop the ruined colony of Side 2, whose population they had annihilated with nerve gas, onto the Earth Federation headquarters in Jaburo, South America. While the Earth Federation forces failed to stop the colony drop, as the colony was entering the Earth's atmosphere, it veered off course and crashed into Sydney, Australia instead, resulting in the total leveling of the city and the deaths of its people, along with the destruction of 16% of Australia's landmass. The Side 2 colony drop was followed by another attempted colony drop by the Principality of Zeon using the husk of Side 5, but the drop was foiled by the Earth Federation forces at the Battle of Loom. So, again, the beginning of Mobile Suit Gundam, the little intro where that guy is talking about what has happened, and it shows that colony drop. This is what really sets off the One-Year War. Now, before that, Zeon was a thing, and they were doing their thing. They wanted independence. But this insane tragedy is really what made this whole thing serious, where the Earth Federation had to do something about it. I mean, even individuals within the Principality of Zeon did not agree with this. And it's also crazy to think that before they dropped the colony, they used nerve gas into the colony to knock out or potentially kill all the civilians so they weren't experiencing dropping. Now, here's the thing, though. Watch Gundam The Origin, and there's actually a point of view of people on the colony when all of this was occurring, and it is insane. But it didn't stop there. Operation Stardust, so you might be familiar with Stardust memory. In November UC 0083, 3 years after the One-Year War ended, the Zeon Remnant movement, Zalaz's fleet, captured 2 colony cylinders and attempted to drop one onto Earth to avenge Zeon's defeat in the war at the hands of the Earth Federation. The cylinder landed in the American Midwest, where a large amount of the Federation's food supply was situated, resulting in the destruction of the supply. And then Operation Apollo, that was August 24th, UC 0087, during the Grips War between the AUG and Titans. The Titans attempted a colony drop on the lunar city of Von Braun. The attempt was foiled by AUG forces. So at this point, it wasn't Zeon, it was the Titans, but just similar to Operation Paperclip, it could be that the Titans and whoever else was maybe that high up in the Earth Federation were originally from Zeon, or maybe Zeon sympathizers, or the Titans were just that bad they decided to copy the Principality of Zeon and drop a colony. But what's interesting here is this was the lunar city of Von Braun, so on the moon instead of on Earth. So there's a lot of different forces at play when you're dropping a colony on the moon. There's no atmosphere on the moon, or very little of one. In fact, the Earth's atmosphere actually does extend to the moon, so it's kind of an interesting little fact there. But also, just when it comes to gravity, there's other things at play that make something like that not as devastating, potentially, even though the moon is smaller. So from that, the destruction wasn't as bad. Dublin colony drop. So on October 31st, UC 0088, this is during the Double Zeta timeline, the Neo Zeon movement based out of Axis, led by Haman Karn, performed a colony drop on Dublin, Ireland, in order to pave way for the Axis ground invasion. Despite the efforts of the AUG and Karaba, the colony drop was successful and demonstrated the might of Neo Zeon. And then the newborn Neo Zeon colony drops. The second Neo Zeon movement, led by Shar Aznable, so Shar's counterattack, attempted several colony drops during the second Neo Zeon War. On March 3rd, UC 0093, Neo Zeon forces succeeded in dropping the fifth Luna asteroid onto Lhasa. So not the cylinder colony we're familiar with, but an asteroid. And a lot of these bodies, if they were not cylinder man-made colonies, they used asteroids, retrofitted them to be colonies to host life. And so it's very interesting, Shar's counterattack. There's all these thrusters that are on it to like move it around. And they were moving it or dropping it onto Lhasa, Tibet. So you'll notice these areas that they're targeting are like main Federation bases that could have exec level Federation members. And this was part of a larger campaign to instigate a forced migration of humanity into space in order to fulfill the ideals of the late Zeon Zoom Daikun. The master plan of Neo Zeon was to drop the Axis asteroid base onto Earth to render it completely uninhabitable, and thus necessitate humanity to leave the planet, but the attempted colony drop was foiled by the Londo Bell Task Force, who intercepted the colony before it could impact Earth. You know, I've kind of gone over like the colonies and all that, and you could kind of see here where they have the Earth sphere, the Lagrange points, the sides where they're at. So during the war, wherever fleets or masses of either Zeon or Federation were situated, they would then have to decide what colony they would leverage. Now, within a side are multiple colonies themselves that are inside that. So it's kind of crazy to think that they're having to make these decisions at an executive level. Okay, which colony are we going to carry out this gassing thing and then try to drop the colony? Or it could be abandoned colonies, or maybe colonies that have just been in a lot of destruction and they decide to just send the rest of it down. Now, there's a Gundam series I haven't watched, and in fact is probably the least talked about Gundam series I think I've heard or not heard of since getting into Gundam, and that's After War Gundam X, although a lot of people advised me that I should go ahead and watch it. But there's this seventh space war that occurs, and it's kind of similar to Gundam. It has some of the similar themes and everything. But in it, they perform a mass colony drop. So it's like further on, trying to make a new Gundam series. What do? Oh, you just go crazy. Like, look, you can look at how large this colony is, the cylinder type that's about to drop onto the city, and then in the background, there's many others. Like, that's insane. Especially just looking at how close they are, you would think that would do something to the Earth where it would like shift the crust, perhaps, or perhaps make the poles move in some sort of way, because that's a lot of kinetic pressure that can occur. And so, because this video is being filmed at the start of the new year, I wanted to bring this up because this is January 3rd, 0079 when this occurs, this Operation British. And this is then what paves the way for the 1 year war from what you find in the original Mobile Suit Gundam, the TV show, and the compilation movies. But also, if you're really interested in the colony drop aspect, watch MS Igloo. You get to see a lot from the Zeon point of view in terms of just the regular crew members aboard some of these ships as the war was changing and things were becoming about mobile suits and less about the original weaponry. They kind of go over that stuff just a bit. Even in Origin, they kind of discuss, you see kind of firsthand some scary stuff happening with the colony. Like, to see something like that in live action would be amazing. They really did a great job of interpreting the horror of knowing, like, these people that are in this colony, what's about to happen, and there's a certain storyline for a certain character there. I don't want to spoil too much because you've got to experience it. So yeah, make sure you're also checking Origin. And just some cool pictures from the wiki. I guess this is the Earth Federation trying to shoot at the colony as it's hitting the stronger portion of the atmosphere and starting to burn up. And then pretty cool artwork showing what that impact would look like in Sydney. And then a tidal wave coming toward the city where the buildings are already melting just from all the heat of the blast. And then the crater left from that, which is insane. And then kind of showing like the crater got filled in with water. Okay, and this is, you can see the art's a little different here. It's kind of the original interpretation in Mobile Suit Gundam 1 in the first compilation movie. And then in 0083. Now, what's interesting about watching 0083 also is that you'll see the characters, they go out and do some training, but it's around parts of where the colony had dropped. I find that very interesting. Here's another point of view of just looking at a colony just coming down. I mean, that's just scary. Hey, and something like out of Independence Day, look at all these people that are, the cars are parked, everyone's running out, but this wall of fire is coming. I mean, it's horrible. And then another shot here, Zaku 2's around the colony as it's falling down, because this is a pivotal moment in the Mobile Suit Gundam UC lore, but also it's just a crazy thing in general, and I think it's pulled off very well, even though it's kind of horrifying. All right, and so that was a look at the colony drops that have occurred in UC Gundam, and a little bit of from what's in After War. I'll have to check that out, but I really think it's just amazing. I kind of compare it to the Death Star in a way, because that was the bad guy's super weapon, where they built this planet base that had a giant laser. But there's more of a grounded feel to the idea of a colony existing in the Earth sphere, and that it being targeted to then send it off course down into Earth's gravitational field, be pulled down onto Earth, used as a weapon of destruction. That's very grounded, and it seems kind of scary because it could be something that happens in the future. I mean, it's horrible to think about that, but just think of some things like, the Nazis after World War II, all being hired by NASA to work with the United States government to further weapons development and engineering. And then, sadly also, when it came to attacks on the World Trade Center using airplanes, something that was used to house people are in it, and it's up in the atmosphere, and it's being used as a weapon. So it's kind of scary to think what the future could be if we are building these giant space stations, orbiting the Earth that could be sent down as a weapon. Now, there is a space station that's up in our atmosphere, the ISS, but from what I understand with that is I think due to its size, it would probably break up mostly as it's entering the atmosphere and burn up, but could be wrong there. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I think this is just a pivotal part of the Gundam lore, and it's pretty horrifying, but it really does a good job of setting the stage and the tone of what UC Gundam provides. And I think it's also grounded enough where it could be a possibility in the future where, just like with an airplane, a colony could be hijacked and used as a weapon in some way. So anyway, kind of a scary, a little horrifying video to watch here, but it's interesting nonetheless. So thanks for watching. We'll talk later.